In our previous video, we discussed how power is produced inside the engine cylinder and how the reciprocating motion of the pistons rotates the crankshaft. This power is aimed to turn the wheels so that the vehicle can move on the road. The clutch sits between the engine and the transmission system, and its function is to engage and disengage the transmission system from the engine. In this video, we will discuss the clutch, its parts, function, working principle, and more. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share. Also, hit the notification bell for more videos planned. A clutch system is classified into three categories, namely driving members, driven members, and operating members. The driving member is composed of a flywheel mounted on the crankshaft of the engine. It is fixed to a cover which supports a pressure plate, pressure springs, and releasing levers, and both the flywheel and cover rotates all the time. The driven member consists of the clutch disc, located between the flywheel and pressure plate. It is made up of friction surfaces, which are usually made of organic or ceramic materials on both of its surface. It is also made up of the hub that connects the clutch disc to the transmission input shaft, and springs located between the friction surfaces to provide cushioning and dampening during engagement. The operating member consists of the release bearing which pushes the pressure plate to separate it from the friction plate and then cuts off the power output from the crankshaft. It also ensures proper operation of the clutch. As had been mentioned earlier, the clutch engages or disengages the transmission system from the engine. When the clutch is engaged, the power is transmitted from the engine to the driving wheels through the transmission system, and the vehicle starts moving. The clutch remains engaged if the vehicle is in motion. When the clutch is disengaged, the power is not transmitted to the rear or driving wheels, and the vehicle stops while the engine is still running. This always happens when starting the engine, when stopping the vehicle, when shifting the gears, and when idling the engine. The working principle of the clutch. As had been mentioned, the clutch disc has friction materials on both of its surfaces. This is what aids in its operation. The clutch works on the principles of friction. When two friction surfaces are brought in contact with each other and pressed, friction unites them and prevents slippages. If one is revolved, the other will also revolve. During clutch engagement, the clutch pedal is released. The pressure plate bolted to the flywheel exerts force to the clutch disc by means of a diaphragm spring, pressing it against the flywheel. This frictional engagement transfers power from the engine to the transmission, allowing the vehicle to move. During clutch disengagement, the clutch pedal is depressed. An arm pushes a release bearing against the center of the diaphragm spring, which releases the clamping pressure on the clutch disc. The outer part of the pressure plate, which has a large friction surface, then no longer clamps the clutch disc to the flywheel. This disengages the transmission from the engine, allowing the driver to change gears without damaging the transmission components. When the clutch pedal is released, the thrust bearing is withdrawn, and the diaphragm spring load once again clamps the clutch disc to the flywheel to resume the transmission of power. Common clutch system failures. The friction surfaces of the clutch disc endure significant wear and tear over time due to the repeated engagement and disengagement processes. If the clutch disc is worn or damaged, it may slip, causing a loss of power transmission and difficulty accelerating. Contaminants or improper lubrication can cause the clutch disc to stick, leading to difficulty shifting gears or disengaging the clutch smoothly. Worn-out springs or damaged friction surfaces can produce noises such as squealing or grinding during clutch engagement. Overheating due to high working temperature can compromise release bearing operation. The pressure plate can cause vibrations that can be felt through the pedal and into the steering wheel if it has an imbalance. These vibrations will only be felt when the clutch is engaged. If the clutch pressure plate is not functioning properly, it can cause a burning smell. This smell is usually caused by excessive heat in the system. When the parts get too hot, they can start to break down and release a burning smell. In some cases, this smell can be so strong that it can be smelled inside the vehicle. A cracked pressure plate is another symptom of a failing clutch system. When a pressure plate is not functioning correctly, it can crack and break. In some cases, this can also cause the vehicle to stall or lose power while driving. Proper maintenance and driving habits like driving smoothly, avoiding sudden starts and stops, and not riding the clutch pedal, that is, not keeping your foot on the clutch pedal while driving, can extend the lifespan of the clutch system. Understanding clutch system structure and working principle can help drivers recognize and address common clutch issues, ensuring optimal performance and longevity of the vehicle's drivetrain.